Okay, so it's 9:10. There are only, I think, 5 or 6 participants right now, including me. But I'm going to go ahead and start the class. The rest can join or they can listen to the recorded lecture later. So this is quiz 3. These are the answers for quiz 3. Do you have any questions about the quiz?
Could you walk through question 2?
Okay, so for question 2, so the most important thing to remember is that for relational algebra, it starts from the left. So you have to start with this join first. So we are looking at works, join city is equal to church, airport. So city is equal to church, airport would be so it's these two lines for city is equal to church. Oh, country, sorry, was it? Which one am I? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at airport. Oh, I'm looking at the first one. You said the second one, right? So country is equal to New Zealand. Oh, this is the third one, sorry. So I'm right, I was looking at this one. So we have city is equal to church, airport, and then you have to join that with works. So we are looking at 6 and 11. So these are the lines. So we have 3 lines that match up on the first 2 parts.
You have one more, Tim, that matches up, but
Oh, did I? I didn't put 10.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 6, that's there, right? Sorry. This one. Yes. And then we have to go to, so then you take that file and then you connect it to country is equal to UK in location. So we have UK, so it's this one. That's the only one that connects to, right? Okay, so then you take the join, that's 100. So in this case, that's 11. That's only this particular line. So you can only look at the one that is 11. So that's only Tim. So that's why the answer to that is Tim. So so I would say that the important point to remember is that relational algebra always starts from the left. So if you started from the left, it would have worked through fine. But if you had started from the right, you would have got a different answer. So any other question on the quiz? Okay, so if you have nothing else, then I will just continue with the lecture. Okay, so in the last class, I started this new operator called in. And like I mentioned, in SQL, unfortunately, we do not have intersection and difference, but we have other operators which we can use to do to do difference and intersection and a whole lot more actually. So this is one of the queries we looked at in the last class. List the first name of employees who work in departments located in Stafford or Bel Air. So on the right, I kind of did it the old way, which is using the join. So, so you'll get the same answer. And then on the left, I've done it using the in operator. So the output for both these queries are exactly the same, but it's important to understand how it happens internally, how these queries are, are computed. So on the right, where you are employee and department location, what happens out here is that they do an emp cross product department location. So that would be a table with so employee has 8 rows and department location has 5 rows. So this is a table with 40 rows, like I showed you earlier. And then you look at this table with 40 rows, and then you use these conditions, D location is equal to Stafford or D location is Bel Air. And you look at rows that match these 3 conditions, and then you get the answer. So that's how the join operator, the query on the right is computed. On the other hand, the query on the left, which uses n, what it does is that it will pick up row by row from the employee table. So it picks up the first row from employee table, and then it'll compute the second query. It's a nested query. So the output for this query is 4 or 5. So what it does is that it'll pick up the first row, check whether the D number is 4 or 5, then does the second row, and then so it parses through the employee table row by row and checks it against. So you have the employee table with 5 rows, and then or 8 rows, and it goes through and checks it again. So while the output is exactly the same in both cases, the way it's computed are very different. And then sorry. So at the end of class, I was doing this query. List employee name, list employee first name, all the employees without dependents. So again, what happens out here, let me just bring the company database in. Oh, that's. Okay, so out here, we have to, select ESSN from dependent. So it goes down to this table. And so we have, it looks at this list here. So, and then, so that's the output of this particular query. So this one will have select ESSN from dependent will have So it has 3 social security numbers, and then it goes to the employee table and it picks the first row from the employee table and checks whether the social security number is a part of the second set. So in this case, John is, so then it'll output John. And so it goes row by row through the first table, the employee table. So that's the way the in operator is really done. It's even though the outputs are identical, the input, the way it's computed is different. Does anyone have any questions on? So let me just do a few more queries with the in operator. So let's look at this next query. List employees who don't work on any projects. Okay, so again, out here, we can do this with the in and the not in operator. So select employees who don't work. So for employees, so you have to look, and it's asking for the first name, you have to look at the employee table. So that's the first one on top. And who don't work on any projects, so you have to look at the works on. So those are the 2 tables you're going to look at, the employee table and the works on table. So so you have select F name from employee. And the thing, so the common attribute between employee and works on is ESSN and SSN. So that's what we have to look at. So where SSN, and now we want who don't work, so it's going to be not in. And then you do the subquery. Okay, so it's actually simpler than the way we would do it in relational. Actually, relational algebra, we did the difference. So we were doing pretty much the same thing. So this next query is select employees who have a dependent with the same first name. Okay, so we want employees who have the same first name. I wonder if there's anyone out here who has the same first name. John. I don't think there are any, but anyway, so that's a query. So we we have to do. So again, we have to first look at the employee table. So that's the one on top. So I mean the outer, in the nested query, that's the outer query. So we have select first name from employee. And here we are looking at the dependent, and the common attribute between dependent and SSN is the social security number. So we're going to see where SSN in. Okay, and so now we have the subquery. Select ESSN from dependent. So now this is the thing. Okay, so here in the earlier ones, we just said select ESSN from works on, where D location is equal to Stafford. So if you look at these queries here, we are looking at department location, and we are looking at attributes in department location. Okay, so the subquery is only dealing with attributes from department location. It is not dealing with any attribute from employee. Similarly, out here, select ESN from dependent. We don't even have a where. So we are only looking at dependent. Here, we are only looking at works on. But now here you want someone, so this is a bit different. You want someone from dependent who has the same first name. So we are looking at dependent where the dependent name is equal to the employee first name. So that's what we are looking at. We want, so we are looking for an aware condition where the equality requires an attribute from the employee table. So, and that is something you can do. So this is the first time I'm showing that. So you're saying where, dependent name is equal to, and I'm going to pick up an attribute from the upper employee table. So is equal to first name. So this query is a bit, so in and not in is very powerful. So you can do an equality. So in the nested query, you can use the nested query here, you can use an attribute from this table. Okay, so I think this is the first example that I've done that is doing this. So let me do a few others. I just want to go through a few other queries that use the in operator. So we have this next one. So this particular query we've done earlier using the join stuff. So select employees who have dependents who are the same sex as the employee. So I've done this using relational algebra, and also I've done this in SQL earlier. So select employees who have dependents of the same sex. Has the employee, so, and I'll just write down the query. The way we had done it earlier, we had done select F name, and I'd also asked for the dependent name. So dependent name. From employee. Okay, so we had done this query earlier using this form, and I think the answers were only, there was John who has Michael, and we have Franklin who has Theodore. So I think that was the output for this particular query. So this was done using a join, and then you're looking at the selecting. So here, I'm showing you how to do the same query using the in operator. So we have okay, so this is the same, we'll give you the same output. We have so we are picking up employees whose dependents are from the same sex. So now, but if you look at this output, the output here, the earlier one, I wrote first name and dependent name, but here I only wrote down first name. So why do you think I never wrote down dependent name out here? Why didn't I write first name and dependent name out here? Why do you think dependent name? Because dependent name would give me an error. So can you kind of tell me like why you think dependent name would give an error?
You're not joining that information from the table?
Yes, because so you're looking at, if you look at the outer query, only has employee E. So this query, so while here we had, it was a join, you were selecting from, from two tables, employee and the dependent table. So it was the cross of employee and dependent table. But here we are only looking at employee E, and employee E does not have the dependent name attribute. So while you can put F name in a subquery, so you can move things down into a subquery, you cannot move things up from a subquery to the outer query. So you can, so that's, I mean, it's like programming. I mean, you can move things from the outer loop, you can have them in the inner loop, but what is in the inner loop, you can't put that in the outer loop. So it's the same idea out here. So if you wanted to use dependent name, you couldn't do it with this query because there is no dependent name in employee. So that is the first thing I wanted to say about this query. And then, of course, the second thing, again, I do want to mention is that while this is a cross product of these two tables, here what it does, the way this query, the second query works is that it'll pick out so so it goes line by line. So what it does is that from employee E, it takes out the first line 1, 2, 3, 4. So social security number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever for John comes out. And then you have running the subquery. So in this particular case, you you have to run the subquery for every line. So for this one, you'll check where, so you're going to check d.sex. So 1, 2, 3, 4 has sex is male. So in this case, the subquery out here, select ESN, the output for this is, it'll output all the males in this case. So it would be 3, 3, 3, 4, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So then it checks, is 1, 2, 3, 4 an element of the second set? And that's correct. So that'll come out. So then it moves down to the next line, 3, 3, 3, 4, and again, male. Then the third line, for example, Alicia. So when you do Alicia, so let's say, so line 3 would be SSN is 9998. And so she's female. So then when it does the subquery out here, it's going to be all the female, 3334 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it checks, is 9998 an element of this? It's not an element, so it's not going to get printed out. So where some of the earlier examples, the subqueries only had to be evaluated one time. In this particular case, wherever you connect, wherever you have, something in the subquery that uses the outer query, you will have to run the subquery for every column. So for each column, you recompute the subquery. So that's how it works internally. Okay, so so do you understand? Does anyone have any questions on this? So so I would say that that's because sometimes students can run SQL queries, but they don't know how things work internally. And I think it's really important to understand how things also work internally, how queries are computed. It gives you a better understanding. So the next thing I want to go back is to the query that we had done. I would say the query which kind of motivated the in operator. So for that, I have to go back to yesterday's lecture or Wednesday's lecture. Let me just open that. Okay, so I think this was a query that kind of, so we were talking about, list project numbers that involve an employee whose last name is Wong as a worker or as a manager of the department that controls the project. So this was the query we were doing yesterday. And I showed you how to do the query with union. And I also kind of brought this example up in yesterday, and I was asking you why this doesn't work. There's a very small error here. I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at it. If not, do take a look at it. It's just, how to correct this particular query. But you can do it using this kind of approach too, by the way. So I want to come to this query. Yes. So then I said, select projects that do not have Wong as a worker or a manager. So this was the query that kind of started this, that motivated the use of in operator. So I said that in order to select projects that do not have Wong as a worker or manager, you would have to get all the project numbers and minus it by whatever you got for that, the projects that have Wong as a worker or manager. And then I said, you don't have minus, so we'd have to use N. So I want to come back to this query because I want to show you how to do this query, select projects that do not have Wong as a worker or manager. So that's the one I want to go to now is, So I'm first going to do it, select projects that where Wong is worker or manager, using, so far I did this project using the union operator and the join operator. So I want to do the same query using the in operator. So select projects that, projects where Wong is worker or manager. So I'm going to do select projects. Okay, so I just want to bring down, so this was our answer, by the way. So I just want to bring, so this was the answer for it, using the union operator, this one. Okay, so keep that, just take a look, keep that on the left. And so I'm going to write it using the in operator now. So it's going to be, so where P number in. Okay, and then we'll pick up the first part. And so instead of writing the whole thing down, I'm just going to cut and paste it from here. It's quite a pain. I might as well write it. So then you actually, so what I'm trying to do is going to pick up the top part out here. So we have select P number from project, department, employee, where okay. So what I really did was that I just picked up the part just above the union on the left. So I'm just saying the P number in this, or so the second part of the union, or P number in, and now you do the second part, select, like, let me see if I can pick this one out. Okay, so this is how you would do the same operator that we did using union. If you were using in, that's how you do. So this is select project where Wong is worker or a manager. So for the first one, we would have, so for this, so you're looking is P number and last name is equal to Wong. So it works on employee. It's called Wong. And I think the answer to this was, no, I think 1 to 3 was the answer for the previous. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I wrote it down out here. So we have, for this, the answer was, I think it was 1, 2, 3 on the first, but I couldn't, yeah. And for this, it was where he's a manager, I think was the one where it was 2, 3, 10, 20. I don't have that's the thing, I don't have that sheet in front of me. So that's what you're looking is select P, and from here, there's all the projects. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, and I think there was 30 also. So we are like looking, so we want to select the ones that are in this and that. So it'll pull out 1, 2, 3, 10, and 20. So that's how you would do the query select projects where Wong is worker or manager using the in operator. So does anyone, do you have any questions? Did you understand this query, how it's done? So if you look at the query within, I mean, it does look kind of, I mean, I would say that it's better to do this query using the union, because if you look at the query out here, you're pretty much picking up things from this, and then you're doing the same thing you're picking out there. So it doesn't really make sense to use it using the in. You could just do it using the union. You could also do it using this way. So I just wanted to show you how you can do it using the in operator. But another reason for showing it using the in operator is for the second query out here. Select projects that do not have Wong as a worker or manager. And I said that in order to do that, you would have to use the in or not in operator. So if you wanted to select projects that do not have Wong, so now we are going to look at the query, select. So this is the thing. Select projects where Wong is not a worker nor a manager. So here the only answer is 30. That's the only one where Wong doesn't work on it, nor is he a manager on that. So in order to do that query, you go back to, so where we are saying out here where P number in, what we have to write out here is instead of in, we have to write not in. So do you think this one would work? If I said, so just look at this query, and would this query give you the answer for select projects where Wong is not a worker nor a manager?
I think it would have a problem with it.
What would be the problem?
If he wasn't a worker on something, the project would show up, and then even if he was a manager, and then yeah, so you could end up with one. You could end up with one where he was a manager and not a worker, or vice versa.
So how would you correct it?
Ooh.
Yeah, no, you're right. What you said right now is correct, because it would. So what would be, if you had to correct it, how would you do that?
Well, I mean, you could take the entire query that you have there and make that a subquery of another one where you select the P number that's not in what you got from the big query that you have going on there.
Would that work? Trying to see. Because the answer for this one, if you said not in, so let's look. See, let's look at this one, what I just wrote down. So I know this part, it looks kind of really messy. So these first ones, so where P number not, so this one is, the answer to this query is 1, 2, 3. So if you say where P number not in 1, 2, 3, so the answer to the not in part, so let me write that down. Okay, so we have, okay, so for the first part, so all the P numbers are, so the entire set is 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30. So let's look. So now I want and select, and if you look at this portion of it, the answer to that is 1, 2, 3. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if it's not in 1, 2, and 3, so the answer to that part would be, so not in. So that would be 10, 20, and 30. Okay, so that's the first part. So that's what you get. So or we are saying or p number not n. So again, so now I'm going to the second part, or p number not n. So for the second part, we have to look at this set. So we have, again, we have 2, 3, 10, 20. So we are looking out here. So when we look at not n, we are going to have 1 and 30. Okay, so we are saying select p number from project where p number not in this or p number not in this. So the answer to this particular query would be 1, 10, 20, 30. But the only thing we want is 30. So how would you get that if you only want 30 from this particular query?
Yeah, so like what I was trying to say was like, don't do the not in. So keep it as the ins and make that a subquery of select p number from projects where p number in, and then the whole thing that you have there would be the subquery. And you'd come up with, it would be not in 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 10, and 20, which would just leave 30 as your
one. Yeah, yes. So it has to be not in 1, 2, 3 and not in 2, 3, 10, and 20, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, so you could change it to and
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's the thing, so that's the only thing actually. So instead of the or, just remember, if you make it an and, so that's exactly, so you did get the answer. So if you had just said, you just change it to and, then you would get your answers. It'll give you the correct answer. So the answer, the correct answer to, for this one, select projects where Wong is not a worker nor a manager would be this query with not n and not n. It'll give you the answer. Okay, so did you understand it? Because I know it looks kind of messy, but I hope you understood. I mean, that's how you would do this query. Select projects where Wong is not a worker nor a manager, is you have to use the not in operator, but when you use not in, don't forget to change the or to an and. Okay, so anyone has any other questions on this part? Though I must say that, you could do it like this. A simpler way to do it if you were just using another way of doing it. So you look at this query. So this was the actual answer about in, right? Select projects. So let me just copy this again one more time. So let's take this down. So I'm just copying it down here, paste. Okay, so this was the answer to list projects that involve an employee whose last name is Wong, either as a worker or as the manager of the department which controls a project. So you could also done it like this. So this was one way of doing it, but another way of doing it is also, so just say, okay, and then just put the whole thing out here. Oh, it's not here, it stops out here, sorry. So remove this Not here, and put the whole thing here. So you can also do it like this, where P number not in, and then put this entire thing out there. That'll also give you the correct answer. So, so all of these cases you have to use not in, but you know, the way you write the not with the not in, you could have done it the previous way, or you could have done it in this way. So this whole thing out here is a subquery. And then you can do it. You'll still get the correct answer. So, so again, you know, some of these, that's one of the things I mentioned is that with SQL, some of the queries will get a bit complicated because you really are doing quite a bit in a few lines. So the best way of learning it is to actually try it out. You know, so all of these queries that I'm doing out here, you can try it out on your own. So another thing I want to ask, you know, I would like to do one more before moving away from this rather complicated looking query, is suppose instead of writing it like this, I wrote it as, okay, so let's see. So I'm just going to say, is this correct? Okay, so I want to, so let me just copy this, of having to rewrite the whole thing. I just want to copy this down. So let me just copy this thing down. Okay, I just want to change it. So the P number. Okay. If we can leave the and part out there, it could be and or, but the main thing out here is instead of saying last name is equal to Wong, suppose the only thing I change is that I make it not equal to. So I'm making it last name is not equal to Wong, or not equal to Wong. So wait, I can do it that way. Trying to see, I think in SQL, you have to do the less than greater than. I'm not sure whether you say not equal to like this, or I think it should be, okay, let's just put it back with that. So it's not, but essentially what I'm saying is not equal to Wong. So, you know, you might think that why don't we could also, instead of saying not in, why not just say select P number from project with P number in, and then in the subquery, instead of saying last name is equal to Wong, just say last name is not equal to Wong, and P number in so much where last name is not equal to Wong. So what do you think? Like, do you think that this would give you also the correct answer? Anyone wants to guess? Yeah, I know that this query is rather, you know, it's a bit long and all that. So the thing with this one, not equal to Wong, it won't give you the correct answer. Whether you use an and or an or, it doesn't really matter. It will not give you a correct answer. But I won't explain right now why it won't. So this is, and again, this is again one of those things which you will understand if you actually look at the sample database and try to figure out what would the output be, and then run it and just look and see, like, just see whether what you kind of reasoned out to be the answer, whether it turned out to be when you actually type in the query and run it out. And when you
Is it from joining the tables, it would get all the it would get every project. Like when it would join the tables, not looking for Wong, it would get every single one. I'm just making a wild guess there.
Actually, a wild guess is actually correct. It'll give you all of them. So in fact, what you should do is instead of looking at the whole thing, you could even, you could also just look at the first part of it and just see like whether this much will give you what you expect, and because the not equal to, because is actually, so again, I think it would be really hard for me to explain in words, and also for you to understand. You really have to type this in, look at the output, and reason it out yourself. Why this answer is not correct, why it doesn't work. What happens when you say not equal to Wong? Because this is one of those questions where everybody, everything else will turn out to be true. And so again, I think it's one of those things that you should have to try it on your own. I won't be able to explain this well, but I just would definitely please try this out. If nothing else, try it out, because for all once I might throw something like this in a quiz with a much smaller sample size. But even with a very small sample size on a quiz, when you have to do this in 5 minutes or something like that, the chances are, if you haven't understood it, you're going to make a mistake. So I would recommend that you actually try it out. And that's the great thing about SQL, is that, you can just, it's very easy to, type all this out and try it out. And also another thing I recommend is that when you try out these queries, don't just type it directly into SQL, write it in a text file, all the queries, and then just cut and paste and put it into SQL. So you can play around with it. Plus, another advantage of cutting and pasting and running is that next time, you have a question, you don't have to retype the whole thing. You can just copy things from the text file. So that's what I would recommend. Don't just type it in directly into SQL, put it into a text file and then copy it off into the SQL thing. It's much easier to do it that way, much faster also. So does anyone have any other questions? Because we just have 3 minutes left, so I don't have time to do any other query right now. So if no one has any questions, then I'll just end the class.